certainly we want to say good evening to everyone again, and thank you so very much for your patience as we were waiting for just a few more of our graduates to arrive. We do appreciate the fact that you sought it not robbery to join us on this evening to celebrate and commemorate an amazing accomplishment for 14 men and women. They have spent the past 14 weeks going through some intensive training to which we hope going forward that they will find themselves more gainfully employed and certainly doing things that will lend to them being contributing citizens in the community once again. So again, we thank you so much for your patience. My name is Albert Williams, and I am the Director of Workforce Development and Training, and I will be moderating our program for this evening. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our President and CEO, Mr. Cornell William Brooks, who will bring to you the welcome and invocation. Please receive him with a hearty round of applause.
Good evening. Now, those of you who participated in our previous graduations understand that this is a festive and celebratory event. So that being said, good evening is not really good evening. I need to hear that a little bit more joy. Good evening. Good evening. There we go. Now, this being a warm and intimate gathering, I'm going to ask those of you who are shy and reserved in the back row, if you would be so kind as to make the folks in the front row feel at home. If you could just move forward. Those of you who may be all the way in the back, if you could just move forward. Join those who are in the front of the room. Let's not have anyone lonely or feeling isolated. There we go. My charge and my task this evening is to extend to all of you a welcome to this commencement exercise. Were you to consult your calendar, your mobile device, your watch, you would note that the date is December 11th. But were you to think about this occasion as a life-transforming, life-turning, life-changing occasion, an opportunity moment. Think about that moment in the context of the last few character testing, soul testing weeks in the wake of Hurricane Sandy, Storm Sandy, in which people have lost their homes, communities have been reduced to rubble, families have been stressed and strained by circumstances beyond their control, so-called act of God. But when we look at this character testing, soul testing storm that has put our state in a state of challenge, it is also an occasion and opportunity, because there will be and there are people who have been called to rebuild. Across this state, there are first responders, there are people from the Red Cross, but there are also those who engage in environmental remediation, who will be those who are charged with the task, charged with the responsibility of literally rebuilding our homes, rebuilding our communities, rebuilding our state. These graduates today have that responsibility. That is to say, you will be among those who are literally rebuilding, beautifying, edifying, building up our community. Martin Luther King used to say that if you have been charged with the responsibility of being a street sweeper, be the greatest street sweeper you can possibly be. If it is your responsibility, if it is your charge to do anything, if anything has been given into your hands, do it to the very best of your abilities. This generation, this group of Newark residents has been called to serve this state at a critical hour, at a soul-testing, character-testing hour. This moment is an opportunity moment. These graduates are going to come forth this evening, and they will go through a graduation exercise, a commencement exercise. A commencement exercise means that you're being sent forth to assume a task, to assume a responsibility. I would like them to go forth knowing that we recognize what it took for them to get here. Think about the graduate who gets up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, puts in a full day, and then comes to the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice to go through the classes. Think about the graduate who comes to the Institute carrying her son or daughter, carrying out child care and the education in the same act, the same process. Think about the person who's been turned down for a job, turned down for an opportunity, and yet took the chance, took the risk to come to the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice to learn a skill, to acquire a craft, to edify and to build up their ability to do the job. Think about the people who have put their lives on hold in order to qualify themselves to beautify and to build up this state. Those are the people whose lives and whose accomplishments and whose achievements we celebrate this evening. But having done that and doing that, these graduates are not alone. So if by chance there is a mother or father, a son or daughter, an aunt or an uncle, if there's a family member here who is proud of the graduate you've come to see, if you could just do me a favor, take this occasion to celebrate what you have done to ensure that these graduates are here this evening. These graduates have not walked this path by themselves. We at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice have the privilege of having assembled, I believe, one of the best qualified, most committed, most talented group of workforce development professionals anywhere in the country. Let me say that again. Anywhere in the country. Michelle Wilson, you hear me. Anywhere in the country. When you think about the fact that over the course of 10 years, we put over 400 people into the construction trades. When you think about the fact that in our EPA program, we have a 90+ placement rate. When you think about the fact that there's no one who comes through this program, there's no one who calls our office that we give up on. There is no one who comes to us for assistance that we send elsewhere without sending them somewhere with the help they'll need on the other end of the call. That's the kind of program that we have. That's the kind of program we're committed to. And I'd like for you to just recognize my colleagues. Al, Michelle, Ed, if you can just stand. Frank, if you can just stand, come forward. Charles, Catherine, if you can just stand. If I can just ask the rest of my colleagues to take justice, if you can stand where you are. The Institute is a very diverse organization. We have people who are lawyers and public policy experts. We have people whose backgrounds are in business. But we are all committed, united in our belief in social justice. Our founder, Alan B. Lowenstein, dedicated his life to the precept and principle that social justice should be the underlying aim of all humanity. We are united in our faith, in our conviction that social justice should be the aim of all that we do. We are committed to putting people in a position where they can compete for opportunities, where they can equip themselves for opportunities, because we believe that work is an instrument of social justice. We believe if you can equip a person to hold a job, to take care of family, to invest in their communities, to pay taxes, to build up the state, to represent to their children and to their grandchildren a paragon of responsibility, if you will. We believe that is a commitment to social justice. Why? Because when you put a person in a position where they can work and invest in their community, you're putting a person in a position where they can stand against poverty, where they can invest in their communities, where they can set an example for their children. We believe that by investing in people, that in and of itself is a commitment and act of social justice. In the city where we are, over the course of the last 50 years, we've seen a policy of disinvestment. When we think about Newark in the wake of World War II, a decrease in the population, we think about the 1960s, people moving out of this city, we think about the buildings that were torn down, we think about the neighborhoods that were renewed, where the people were removed. The Institute stands against that kind of thing. We believe in investing in men and women and investing in families. Why? Because a city where you invest, a state where you invest, is a state and a city that is more competitive. It's a state and a city that holds up those citizens within it and says to the entire world, these people can compete with anyone, anywhere. These graduates are those kinds of citizens. Now, my responsibility as President and CEO of the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice is largely one where it draws upon my legal and policy skills. But I'm also a fourth-generation ordained minister. And on occasion, I'm called upon to offer what is known as an invocation. An invocation is simply an occasion where we invoke God's Spirit. We invoke a spirit, if you will, over the occasion and for the occasion. And so those of you of faith and those of you who simply believe in your neighbors, simply believe in these graduates, simply believe in their families, simply believe in the city in which you are sitting, I ask that you bow your heads and let us turn toward God in prayers. We come to you this evening, Lord, as your children. As children of God who believe in the possibilities of these, your children. We believe in your sons and daughters. We believe that if we take their talents and abilities and we invest in them, then we can make and transform lives. We ask that you bless this occasion and bless these graduates. We ask that you bless them with the knowledge and awareness that the sky is the limit to what they can do. We ask that you bless them with the conviction that if they apply themselves, if they invest their dreams and invest a sense of hard work in all that they do. We ask, Lord, that you bless them so that they see this graduation as a commencement, a beginning, and not an end. We ask that you bless this occasion such that those who've been charged with the responsibility of coming and offering a few words of inspiration, do so knowing that their words will bear fruit in terms of encouragement, in terms of inspiration, in terms of hope. We ask that this occasion be one in which those who walk in front of this podium know that they have begun to realize opportunities. We're asking that this graduation ceremony be life-changing, life-turning, life-transforming. Let those who so believe say amen. Amen.
Now, as we've mentioned, we are here to celebrate. When I first walked into the room, it was a little frigid in here. But as you began to arrive, and as I sat there, and as Cornell welcomed you and invoked the Almighty, I felt some warmth. And I hope that that will transcend amongst you all here, because we are a family here at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Every group that we bring in, I start out in an orientation by saying to them, once you are inducted into our family, you are always part of the family. And so, as I've said to our graduates, I so say to you, their family members, because it is because of you that we believe that many of them have achieved this level of success today. It was no easy task to sit through 14 weeks of a training process where we took them through intense workforce development, life skills training, where we mandated, if you will, that they take a deep look inside of themselves and to really look at what they needed to do to begin to transform themselves, because many of them, in conversations that I had, indicated they were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so through that process, many of them discovered some skills, some talents, and some abilities that we always knew they had, but they forgot that they had. And so we had to remind them that you have this innate ability. All we have to do is just spark some fire and release it into the universe once again. And so after their life skills, they went through technical skills training. You may wonder, why are we here talking about brownfields remediation? Well, what is brownfields? Brownfields is a contaminated piece of property where maybe a factory, some sort of manufacturing plant sat, and over the years, the earth became contaminated. The factory has since moved away, and there is this blighted piece of property. Well, it's not generating any revenue for the city, and it definitely is an eyesore to our community. But before these properties can be developed, if you will, they have to be remediated. And so these 14 men and women have passed through a process by which they have been confirmed with 6 certifications. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6. They've received a HAZWOPER certification. HAZWOPER means Hazardous Waste Operator, Emergency Response. So just as we've mentioned already with Hurricane Sandy coming and all the devastation that we faced up and down the coast of New Jersey, these men and women now have credentials that they can go and help to remediate those properties, help turn around those communities, and to do it safely. These 14 men and women have also begun to sit for a state exam that will allow them to do asbestos removal. That is, back in the day when buildings were being erected, every building pretty much had some form of asbestos in it. Well, we know asbestos is a contaminant, and if you are exposed to it for a long period of time, there are health risks. But to remove that product and to do it safely in the state of New Jersey, you must be licensed. And many of them have begun to take that exam, and several have passed that exam already. In addition to their asbestos certification, they have taken a lead permit exam, to which all 14 have successfully received their lead permit. And so now they can go and do lead abatement work. They've been confirmed with 10 hours of OSHA safety training, 30 hours of OSHA safety training, and finally, confined space. And so these individuals, as of this evening, will walk out of this place, will leave the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice more credentialed than when they came in. And so we are so very proud of them, because we know it was not an easy task for them to make the sacrifice, especially with me, indicating that, time is very important. I have a saying: early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. And so these folks have come to class. Some let me make it known, an hour before class is to start. Because I guess they just didn't want to hear Mr. Williams, getting on his soapbox, talking about, you gotta be here on time. And so we do appreciate the sacrifices that they've made. And so without any further ado, I would like to introduce to some and present to others Cohort 3 of our EPA Brownfields Job Training Program. Please receive them as I call their names. Mr. Yael Adahando. Mr. Kyle Box. Mr. Tyron Cooper. Ms. Crystal Gibson. Mr. David Graham. Ms. Ches Hodges. Mr. Christopher Lane. Mr. William McPherson. Mr. Alquan Rivers. Mr. David Rogers. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Jerome Whitson. And as you may notice, we have about 4 chairs that are empty, and some of our graduates, we hope, are still in transit. And the parking down here, we do understand, has been, on this evening, has been a little hectic. And so we do want to certainly recognize them in spirit. Miss Karen Bellamy. Ms. Star Cato. And Mr. Kevin Cheatham. And so, you all have arrived. The moment has finally come, and we have prepared for you an opportunity, a celebration, if you will. One of the things that I shared with this group when they came in, because many of them did not know each other when they came in. And so this is an opportunity, again, to begin to build a network, to begin to build a fraternity and a sorority, a brotherhood, a sisterhood, whereby when you find yourselves a little dismayed and a little discouraged that now your family, your network has increased, please call upon each other, continue to share with each other, continue to converse with each other, because you all have supported each other through this process. No one sitting here could have made it without the help of the person sitting to their left or to their right. And so I ask that you continue to have that sort of dialogue with each other, because you're going to need it going forward. I make the statement, this is a laboratory. This is your playground. This is where you can make your mistakes. But now, as Cornell has said, we're getting ready to usher you back into the world. And we know the world can sometimes be a very, very cruel place. And so we all need a shoulder that we can lean on. We all sometimes, men and women, may have to shed a tear. And we need someone that can be there to support us when we're going through those difficult moments. And so I'm here to encourage you to keep up that kind of camaraderie that you've begun to develop. Today we have with us a special guest, as always. She is our program officer. We were funded by the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection to run this Brownfields Job Training Program. And so we are so delighted tonight that our program officer, Ms. Shanine Mitchell, could be with us to share a few words to our graduates.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry I'm late. Just came from school, actually. I'm working on my PhD in environmental management, so I too know what it's like to go through the struggle of getting from point A to point Z, but congratulations to you all. You made it through the program, and on behalf of EPA, we want to say that we're very, very proud of you guys, and we hope that you go forward and that you be successful and that you get employed. So that's what we're here for at EPA, which consists of New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and VI. So don't just think that you're out there. We have about 10 programs in the region, and we all work like a family. We want to make sure that whoever goes through the program, they get through successfully and they get employed, because that's what we want at the end of the day. Because if you think about it, Obama's mission is to make sure that we raise employment, we reduce the employment rate. So our program, with our 75% success rate, or placement rate I should say, that's, just to demystify the fact that people can get employed. So good luck. I hope to see success in your future. I'm sure that Al is going to give me some updates on what you guys are doing. So I just want to thank you so much for having me. And to the families out there, thank you so much for supporting these graduates. I'm sure you're very proud, and so are we. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Quinzel McKenzie, representing the Port Authority, New York, New Jersey, could not be with us this evening as he had a medical appointment, but certainly he wanted me to share with you graduates that he, too, as well as the Port Authority, New York, New Jersey, are very proud of your accomplishment on today. And so we wanted to make sure that we conveyed that message on his behalf. To move right along with our program, we are going to call to the podium now Mr. Kenan Lucianen, who will convey some words to our graduates, as well as provide the introduction of our guest speaker for the evening.
I don't think there was any doubt when Mr. Brooks started speaking that we did not think we were in church for a second. His oratorial skills are quite amazing. Praise the Lord. I'm a Passaic guy, so I feel right at home here. I'm born and raised. As a matter of fact, Mr. Williams and I, about 3 years apart in high school, and he graduated with a couple of my sisters. I'm one of 10 children. And there's nothing better in life than one that picks themselves up off the ground when you're down and out. And I'm going to share with you a very frank story. At the age of 31, I was newly elected to the school board in the city of Passaic. Thought I was a member of Congress. But I had a problem. My problem was I liked alcohol. And I had to make a decision in my life because my sisters told me they didn't want to be around me. And my parents told me that, your younger sisters who you adore don't want to be in your company anymore because you're always drinking. So I had to make a decision in my own life. Do I want to be successful and do the right thing, or do I want to be an alcoholic and do the wrong thing and make choices? So I made the proper choice and sought help. And that help, 20 years later, has made me win 5 municipal elections, get appointed to the sewer commission, to work for Mr. DeFrancisci by 2 governors. So the fact of the matter is that I give a lot of respect and credit to people when they're down and out, to take their inventory and do the right thing and get back on track, because there are people out there that care about you. And by the people, the family members that are here, that's why I told you I feel right at home, because when I spoke at my first AA meeting all my brothers and sisters came and all my friends, and it packed the room, being one of 10 children. Mr. DeFrancisci and I, when Mike took over the sewer authority well over a year ago, he stressed education to the younger students across the state. We must visit 400 schools a year promoting the environment to the young youth of this state that promotes good, healthy, clean living and explains to the children that if you throw a piece of paper in the street, it winds up in the Passaic River. And I'm going to tell you graduates this before I introduce Mike. I just read a 56-page document that was produced by the state of New Jersey, and it was regarding Hurricane Sandy's cleanup efforts in the state of New Jersey. And every single one of those pages has one of the disciplines that you guys just got your certification in, that it will be cleaned up, including in this environment that needs to be cleaned. Every single one of your, I'd hate to say it, but you chose the most appropriate field to be in right now is in the environment. And the EPA region will tell you that this region is going to need your skill set unbelievably in the years to come. Years. I mean, this is not going to be done overnight. This is bigger than Katrina. But Mike DeFrancisci and I have worked together and really truly care about people. And Mike's a friend, and Mike and I came here because I understood the importance of somebody else needed a little pat on the back and say, I want you to get back at it. And Mike's career as a drug enforcement agent, and he retired and went on to be appointed by the governor, shows the show of respect that he has for himself, but also for the fact that he understands what this institute stands for, is giving someone else a second chance in life. And if we can't give people a second chance among us, you know, as John F. Kennedy said in 1963, who would want to be in your shoes? You know, who would want to be, you know, not respected? And this year is the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Bill. And that is something that's got to be celebrated. You know, that's why this is a very important, these kind of New Jersey Institute of Social Justice, support these issues and these events. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great pleasure to introduce you to Mike DeFrancisci.
Thank you, Ken. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's really a pleasure to be here this evening and to share this event with you folks. I certainly have some prepared remarks, but it's a tough act to follow, I can tell you that. Mr. Brooks, Mr. Williams, thank you very much for the invite to be here tonight. It's very, very appropriate, I think. You know, we're all part of this community, and our facility is literally in the Ironbound section, not too far from here. And it impacts everyone that is here this evening. We work very closely with EPA. In fact, for the last 6 weeks, I've had them at my plant, day in and day out, helping us try to recover from the effects of Hurricane Sandy. And for most of you, you know, the Sewerage Commission is really a wonderful institution that in the past has certainly had some negative things said about it. But I will tell you that it is an organization of almost 500 people that go to work day in and day out, that work very, very hard for things that most of us take for granted every day. You flush the lever on your toilet, you open your sink, you take a shower every day, you go to restaurants. All of that goes into the sewer system is collected right across town by us. We service 1.4 million people in 5 districts, in 5 counties in New Jersey. It is one of the most amazing facilities and the 5th largest in the country, and I'm very honored to be running it. When the governor appointed me just this past July, and I've been there for almost a year, it's an awesome responsibility, but it's a tremendous responsibility. And one of the things I was talking to Mr. Greenberg about is that I think with me coming here tonight and seeing this type of program, seeing what it has to offer in terms of the certifications, and I'm very familiar with the hazmat certifications with confined space. We do it day in and day out. And I think that there's going to be a great relationship that we can build from this, whether it's internships, whether it's work-study programs, whether it's actual employment, because You know, my workforce isn't getting any younger. And it is a young man's game down there, I will tell you that, because it's a very dangerous place. But I think that from this point forward, we can certainly look forward to a long relationship, and I would do anything that I can, and we'll talk in the future about how we can make this work for you. Because, you know, the bottom line here is that you need to close this circle, and the circle is about getting a job. You know, all the talk and all the stuff that goes with it is real nice. Until you bring home the bacon, it doesn't really mean anything. So I really can appreciate everything everybody's done to get you to that point. But you know what? Now you got to drive across the goal line, and maybe we can help do that with some. I can tell you this: that there's no free passes. Everybody goes through background checks. Everybody goes through a very formalized process. But we look at qualifications, and these are certainly some very recognized qualifications. So we can maybe help close the circle for some of you folks. So I'd be more than happy to work with you in the future. Anyway, good evening, and I'll get to my prepared remarks. And thank you for inviting me here to be with you tonight. Let me first congratulate you on your accomplishments and hope that this will be the beginning foundation of a long road of positive experiences and service as you progress in your chosen field. This past week, and I'll tell you why I was recuperating, I had knee surgery last Monday. And on Wednesday, I had to go down and testify before the Senate Budget Subcommittee about the effects of Hurricane Sandy. And Public Service got up first, and they beat them to death. Then Jersey Central Power and Light got up, and they beat them to death. And I'm like, wow, I'm really going to get killed here. By the time it came to me, they were so tired of beating people up, I think I got a free pass. So I was real happy to be at the end of the program, except my knee was screaming, and it's been a tough week at least recovering. But I took some time to look up who was the New Jersey Institute of Social Justice and exactly what did they do. I have to admit, I was a little concerned about what a former police officer, federal drug agent, and mayor could have in common with your organization. But I know that we have some very common origins that have brought us here tonight. And just as importantly, what this organization means to the greater Newark community. The PVSC is part of the Newark community and certainly the Ironbound community. We just recently, there's a Passaic River Advisory Commission coalition that works at Montclair State College, and the Ironbound community was represented there, and we are working together and trying to work with them as closely as possible to make this work for everybody. Environmentalists, you may have seen in the ledger the last couple of weeks after the storm, were somewhat concerned that we were not prepared, and let me tell you something. We were as prepared as anybody else in the state, and we still got slammed like everybody else. You know, you prepare for the last greatest event, okay, which was Hurricane Irene. And we were prepared for that. But nobody expected a 12-foot surge, tidal surge, to come over that North Bay in the south end of our plant, go almost a mile, encircle us, and then engulf the plant. It had never happened before. If it happens a year from now, then I'll probably be looking for a job if I haven't fixed it. But I can tell you that we had tried to do everything that we could. We brought the environmentalists in and we said, look, we want you to understand, we're all in this together. We're members of this community. We want to make this work. We're not going away. We can't go away. There's 1.5 million people a day that depend on us. But we want to work with everybody and make them feel like we're all trying to do as much as we can. I was born in this city, and many years later find that I am now back in charge of one of the largest wastewater facilities in the country. Many of you are also aware that we are rebuilding after the devastating effects of the hurricane just 6 weeks ago. I am committed to rebuilding stronger, more resilient than we previously were. In fact, many job titles and classifications may be of interest to you, as I said, and I encourage you to check our website for career openings. PVSC employs 500 people, and we are a formidable workforce in this community. I also saw that your website incorporates the words challenging barriers and empowering people. The NJISJ has hopefully helped you navigate around some of those barriers and will make you all better community members and leaders. That's what communities need, not just people to go there and to go home, but people that will lead these communities in the future. But the real test will come from within you and what you do with the tools that have been provided to you. As you heard from my biography, I've spent most of my entire life in public service, almost 30 years in law enforcement at different levels, witnessing some very gross inequities, trying to understand things I thought were so egregious on so many different fronts, and hoping to make some small change to the lives of people, most of whom I did not even know. I've been blessed throughout my career and know that I made some small difference to people and that I helped and that are better off today because of it. I also volunteered in my community and even thought I could make a greater difference running for elected office after I retired. Believe me, no one was more shocked when I won. Maybe Kenny. All those times serving and doing what I believed was the right thing to do. Although many people today have lost faith in government as a whole, and politicians at many levels, many have no one to blame except themselves. I can tell you that being mayor was one of the most gratifying and sometimes most frustrating experiences I've ever been involved in. They say that all politics are local, and being a mayor in a small New Jersey town, of which there are 566, is no exception, but it was one of the most fulfilling experiences in my life. I gave up that position last year to take over at the PVSC. In fact, today alone, I received a thank you email from a woman whose family had lost her home due to repetitive flooding. She thanked me for assisting her and guiding her through the process of having her home bought out by FEMA. My township went through 4 major floods in 3 years. So although this was a much bigger scale when Sandy hit, I was very familiar with the process. And I'm somewhat of a boots on the ground kind of guy. When we got here that Tuesday after the storm, we hit the ground running. I value those small tokens of appreciation, knowing that someone is better off because of what I was able to help them with, without little fanfare. No one had to coach or push me. It was for personal satisfaction, no more, no less. A new paradigm that hopefully you will begin to set for yourself. Because believe me, tonight is about you. It is about what you've accomplished in those 14 weeks, those many hours of coming here and dedicating yourselves, whether away from family, after work, because you saw that something had to change. I know that good things can be accomplished if you set your mind to them, and you are the cause that made it happen. No one forced you here. You did this on your own, and you should be congratulated for it. Anyone that had anything to do with helping you achieve your success will be proud, including the NJISJ. The challenges that you will face will not come easily, and you may and should question inequities if you see them and call them out. Some you will be able to correct, and some you will not. But you will feel stronger and more committed because you tried. You will receive some bumps and bruises along the way, but just as the current hit song extols, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sums up my point. You have the ability to change your own life, and this is only a small first step, but it is probably the most important one you can take. On April 23rd, in 1910, President Theodore Roosevelt delivered the below lines from one of the most famous speeches often referred to as the man in the arena, to privileged students at the renowned Sorbonne University in Paris, France. It is probably one of the most repeated verses on record, along with President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Day of Infamy following Pearl Harbor, and President Kennedy's 1961 inaugural speech, where he uttered the words, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And we're often drawn back to these words and use them often, though they were first publicly heard 112 years ago. I think you will agree the message is loud and clear. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how strong the man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there are no efforts without error and shortcomings, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails by daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Allow me to close with this. Tonight, as you have completed these courses, know that much of what happens from here on in will be left to you. You have made the right choice, because without commitment, there is no action. Without action, there is no change. And without change, there is no progress. Seize the moment. It may not be here tomorrow. Congratulations. I really applaud you.
consistently say to you all, either as a group or when you come into my office independently. And that is that, we don't promise you a job. But what we do endeavor to do is to connect you to the opportunity. And so tonight, you've heard that another opportunity has certainly been presented to the New Jersey Institute by way of partnership with the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission. And so we will certainly take you up on that offer. And so at this time, I would like to ask if Ms. Mitchell would join me at the podium, as well as Mr. Brooks would join me at the podium as we begin to confer upon you your certificates of completion. Mr. Yael Aldahando. Mr. Kyle Batts. Don't be shy of the camera, graduates. And just to note, I believe, Kyle, you were one of our graduates that did some work for Hurricane Sandy relief, correct? Mr. Tyron Cooper. And Tyron, as well, did some work on Sandy relief. Sometimes when we run a program at the Institute, we're always inundated with, machismo. It is always nice when we have some of our sisters join the ranks and want to do this unconventional type of work. And so at this time, I call Miss Crystal Gibson, who also participated